Hi, guys.
Welcome back to the Journey Podcast. I'm your co-host, Emma Jackson.
And I'm Jose. Today, we have an amazing guest. She actually been here before. Ms.
Yes.
Liz, how you doing? How
Good.
you been?
Nice to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah, we are excited to have you back for season 2. I don't know if you noticed product placement here. We now have some mugs. This is very exciting.
I do like how smooth that was.
Yeah, it was not smooth at all. But sometimes you just gotta hello, I'm just gonna drink. We're all coffee addicts here. And but it just, you have watched the evolution happen from season 1. What are your thoughts on how we have evolved as podcasters on National Radio Day?
I know. Well, it's fun. I mean, I think it goes with our whole industry. Everything just keeps evolving. And, who would have thought an advertising agency, a marketing agency would have its own podcast? But, I mean, these are things we tell our clients to do and to take advantage of. And it's nice to see, our own industry doing this and sharing and, making connections.
Yeah, Liz, for all the new listeners out there or viewers, tell us a little bit about yourself and what do you do?
Yeah, I am with Avail Media. I'm the business development director, which means I get to spend my days talking to really cool businesses, owners, marketers that have goals and plans for their businesses and helping them see specifically how Avail Media can help them. And the way we help them is we are a full-service media agency. And what that means is we work with creative partners or their in-house teams to find the right places in media to place their message. So that can be anything from podcasts to, old school print, television. So that's kind of where I play, and that's where our agency sits.
We love to really explain that because a lot of times when people are new to the advertising world, there's just so many pieces that people don't quite understand. And one thing is that media buying is an entire massive job. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of people and it takes a lot of expertise because it's not just like, oh, let's throw something on the internet. It's like where, when, how, what format. Is it photos? Is it video? Is it banner ad? It used to just be the earliest stages of Google, right? You had those banner ads on websites.
Yep.
And now everywhere you go, from downloading a gaming app on your phone to watching YouTube to scrolling social media, there are ads everywhere. And the key is figuring out what format works best, like you said, to achieve someone's goals.
Right.
So, yeah, that's kind of wild.
It's kind of crazy to me, like the complexity. I think that's why I really do appreciate what you guys do. Is you guys do a lot of strategy behind the scenes where it kind of like, you figure out the best way to expose the messaging to get the best results. And then it's not like, hey, we're guarantee you a sale, but we're guarantee you that exposure that can potentially lead to a bigger outcome.
Yeah. I mean, the planning part is such a big step and so important. And I think it's interesting how, though, it connects to every other piece of kind of the consumer journey, but also just the advertising world. I think we laugh if you see sometimes like marketing job posts now and you look at them, it's like, okay, you need to SEO, you need to have video production, you need to be PR.
Graphic design, everything to do with basically growing a business.
Right. And if you actually look at it, those are a lot of different jobs, but they all work together. And so those are things that we have to take into consideration. Like we've talked about it, like, is the website easy? What's the user experience like? Because if we're going to suggest on the media plan to do something like paid social, but your organic social is not strong, your website is difficult, it's not mobile friendly, even if the media campaign reaches everyone it's supposed to, the target's right, then they get to those other pieces, it's going to end right there and you're not going to get that conversion. So while it is a very separate thing, all those pieces have to work together.
Oh my gosh, you are preaching to the choir because we are very much the same way. Coming in as a strategic partner, I think marketing and sales both, like those are two departments that a lot of businesses come in, they're like, okay, we need to fix this. And then we're gonna hire somebody, we're gonna hire a marketing team, or we're gonna work with a media buyer, and we're just gonna grow. We're gonna grow sales, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes, and, right? It has to be all of those pieces kind of have to play together. It's like, what is your strategy? What are the narratives that you're telling? What are the stories that you're sharing? You could have the biggest budget in the world, and this happens sometimes. You have these massive companies, and then they release this campaign, and it's like, who was in that boardroom? Who decided that was a good idea to get put out there? And so you still have to have the great content, social media presence, website, but it can also be super overwhelming, not just for new businesses, but also for businesses that have been established for a long time. So I would love to hear your all's thoughts on when in that journey of a business is it a good idea to consider advertising, and what does that look like?
Like in the lead generation pipeline?
Yeah. And not just for like brand new startups, but also for businesses that have been around a long time and maybe things have changed.
That's a, so you can take the first crack at that one.
I mean, I think some of it comes from, you are running a business, and yes, you can go out and buy your media. You can plan your advertising, but is that the best use of your time? And are you doing it at the level that maybe if you had someone that was dedicated to it and had a background in it? Because I think about the fact that, we have YouTube, we have all the people that go and like watch a video and do it themselves. And yes, they were able to build a table, but did it take you 10 times longer? Is it high quality? Is it sturdy?
Yep.
I mean, it's not saying you can't do it. It's just saying, is that the best use of your time? So yeah, I think that's part of it.
I think I'm going to go from the other approach. I'm going to go for the salesperson approach, right? So if I'm in sales, we have to generate leads, right? We do our quota lists, and those leads that we're generating based off our ideal client profiles, that takes a lot of time. I mean, dedicated time, especially like if you're doing cold outreach. I mean, you're doing 2 to 4 hours a week in just research to compile like a list of maybe 500 to 1,000 potential leads to reach out. I think in that journey of the pipeline, for me as a salesperson, I'd rather have a team that's handling the departments that the lead is like, for example, like the ad is driving the potential client to the website, then we're capturing the information. That information is getting feed to my CRM. Then I can just add it to my pipeline of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this reach out. And kind of really start targeting that way.
Yeah, and that's definitely like a scale place too. Like what you're talking about is that salesperson is doing a one-to-one. And if you want that one-to-many, that's when you kind of have to bring in bigger media. And I think that's when it will benefit you. The payoff will benefit you on having a team that their experience and expertise is there, because one, they'll make your marketing dollars more efficient because they know what they're doing. And then also they give you time back to go do things that your business really needs. And we were talking about this earlier, is the fact that media keeps changing, media consumption habits. So you're not only just creating this plan once, but you're going to have to keep, up to date with what's going on in streaming. Oh, Netflix now has paid ads. Is that where our target audience is? Are they moving that way?
It's a ton of
right
data to constantly go through and to constantly change, and it takes so much time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that for a second? We're paying for, let's just narrow that down. We're paying for example, let's take Prime, right? Amazon Prime. I pay for 3 different subscriptions within the video service, right? Discovery, XYZ. I'm still paying like $16, $14, $10 a month, and they're still giving me ads in the subscriptions.
Yep.
Like, it's a constant evolution.
And there's the place, like you said, placements change, right? So you can have you noticed, have you guys ever watched a show like on Amazon Prime, and there'll be one ad at the very beginning, and it's like, hey, we paid for you to have ad free for the entire thing, right? And these are subtle nods to, we're a classy company, right? We are going to take care of you so that you don't get inundated with ads the whole time. And that can be really, really good for some, for some businesses. For others, it's not really the right fit. And just, I love that what both of you all said, essentially you were like, is that the best use of your time? And then also expertise-wise. Like, you may be capable of learning. Like right now we live in this world where all of this knowledge is at our fingertips. But the time it takes to figure that out, as opposed to using your time to work on how actually growing your business. Yeah. I know that both of like the Idea Farm and Avail Media, we tend to work with a lot of, bigger, more established businesses in the 1 to 5 million plus range who actually have a marketing team, but usually it's, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's often 1 to 5 people at most. And they are, just like you said, wearing a billion different hats. So I'm curious to know how you all think of working with a marketing team of a bigger business.
Yeah, I think we definitely want to be that extension of their team. So for every client that we work with, that partnership looks a little different because it's based on how they need us to fit. I mean, we are a full service media agency, but sometimes we have clients that have a really good relationship with a certain publisher, and so they want to take that relationship and keep it direct. And so it's like, okay, just keep us in the loop, and it's that feedback loop that's so important, so that we're not doing something else with this other part of the media campaign that cannibalizes that other piece you're doing, and so everything's efficient. So that's kind of what it is. It's a feedback loop that's important there.
And in backtracking a little bit, because I think you said something that kind of sparked something in my head. It was like we also need to take in consideration the budget approach of it in the lead generation pipeline, right? When does it make sense to actually? I don't want to say when does it make sense. At what price points it makes sense to bring in that element of paid advertising, right? For example, if a business is doing 50, 60, 70,000 a month, right? It doesn't make sense to spend 10, 15% of your budget in that paid ads, and then how is that going to give you the return on your investment back? I think that's something that we definitely need to consider, or the business owner or the salesperson, whoever is in charge of that, needs to consider, because it does reflect back in the overall strategy of their company.
How do you, as someone who gets put in this position a lot, where you're talking to potential clients, and not everyone knows. So what is the advice you give to people when they're like, I'm not really sure if we're ready for it, or what the best approach is?
Personally, I go off percentages of industry. I don't know if you do the same thing.
We can look at competitive. We can see what someone's spending in the market. And then we also, just because we've been doing it so long, kind of know by medium, which like bottom budget you need to be able to execute it well.
Yep.
Because there's certain things that if you don't have, 10,000 a month, it's not going to make sense for you even to do, and it's better for you to keep it or invest it maybe in another option.
Mm-hmm. We guide our clients in the same sort of way. Yeah.
The difference with the difference with us is we don't really deal that much with ad spend like you guys do. You guys are on a way different scale than us.
Oh yeah.
We're more like a product based company,
Right.
where like you're buying a particular product, and that product there's services attached to it. So the level of complexity that you guys play with amazes me. I don't even know if I ever want to touch that ballpark.
Well, that's like us. We don't want to build a website. It's funny, but I think that's also that expertise where that feels really simple. Like what you guys provide feels simple to you, and so you guys could get it done like at a reasonable time. If we had to build a website, we would all be pulling out our hair, and it would take months because we would have to teach ourselves. And I think that goes back to hire experts so you can better use your time.
Yep.
Because the media planning thing is second nature for a lot of us. Kelly, our president, if you ask her ballparks for different media in different markets, she can usually off the top of her head say, yeah, you'll probably need to spend about X to feel like you're going to get this much coverage. So it's just some, knowledge that she has now from doing it for so long.
And for us, like, I take the budget approach, and I like how much percentage off your gross revenue you're gonna spend on your marketing ventures. That's like a number that we give out. It's like, hey, this is a total you should spend. Doesn't mean you need to spend all that money in our particular product. There's multiple different elements to marketing itself. Paid media, which is what you do, it's a crucial part. And I was just researching this recently for a client. It's like paid media can take anywhere from 20 to 60% of your budget to really get the full maximum value of that.
Yeah.
And I could be completely wrong, but that's what the research we found out.
I think, that range is probably true because I think it really depends on what you're trying to do. I think that comes back down to like really knowing your company and your target audience, because there's ways to match budget to goals and kind of tier it. So if I think one of the struggles is people think everyone's their customer. But if you go down and say, okay, well, not everyone, but okay, adults 25-64. Okay, that's not a target audience. That's a section of the population.
Yeah.
And then you go a little further. Okay, that are interested in health, and they live within a 15-mile radius. Well, now all of a sudden you went from trying to reach the entire country to now we're just talking about the woodlands that are interested in health, and that's a very different budget.
Yeah.
So those are type of things that we also take into consideration when we're talking budgets.
You hit on something that I want to touch on. How did you get started in sales, in the business development role? Like, what was your entry point?
So I've always been in the advertising industry, and previously I spent 10 years selling cable networks, which evolved into streaming also. So that was a fun evolution of seeing that. But really, what's interesting about the cable space is I've always had about 55 plus networks that were allocating on a media campaign, which means you're really looking at target audiences there. So that's kind of been my background is sales, but so connected in advertising. So yeah.
Because the way that you were speaking, you speak with such like authority and like experience. And I think we grow based off the environment we're in, right? So the sales rep in these companies are diving into advertising. They can see it firsthand the benefits and sometimes the con if it's done improperly, right? Of it. And for me, you and Emma, we all do sales here. That constant evolution of how to get better, how to get more exposure, how to get those leads, how to fill the pipeline is crucial and important.
Yeah.
I know that we've talked about getting those more mature businesses that a lot of times they will come to us. It's not just like, okay, because the business journey isn't linear. You could, I feel like it goes through cycles, right? So you do your branding, you do your big sales push and marketing and this and that, and then things are steady for a while. And then maybe they drop off or you want to introduce something more or grow, and then it kind of comes back around. I would love to know the kind of clients, like what is it that makes them come to you if they're a more experienced or if they've been around the block for a while?
If they've been around a block for a while, it's definitely, there's a few things.
Talk to me.
They've hit a wall where they're no longer seeing results because what they've done and always done, and I think that aligns with the fact that media consumption habits keep changing. So if you've always done print and all of a sudden it's not working any longer, it's probably because your audience is now consuming media in a different way. Then there's also sometimes internal changes. So, someone leaves and the new person is the marketing director, but they're really great at SEO and maybe PR, but they don't have the media buying experience, so they want to bring someone in. And then some of it is just a light bulb went on and they realize they're spending so much internal time handling it and they need a team. So maybe they hit a tipping point where it's just a lot of work and their team feels like it's become a time suck.
Yep.
Definitely.
I feel like that we get the same sort of clients. And something else we see is with legacy or heritage brands is they start to realize that without intention that there's a whole new demographic of people who, okay, your parents and grandparents were buying that product. How do we get the younger generation to? And a lot of that is just figuring out where the younger generations are consuming their media, which is online, or the formats have changed. And it's interesting to see legacy brands that have done a great job of this because it's usually figuring out how do you speak to multiple generations at the same time? How do we update? A lot of times people think about you guys did a rebrand, right? It doesn't always have to be a name change, a logo change, this and that. Sometimes it can just be the way that you're telling the story. How does that shift for the modern consumer?
Yep.
Our attention spans have completely dropped in just the past 5 years. Thank you, TikTok, right? So that's something that we tell our clients all the time is short form video content performs so well. But you also have to hook people within 5 seconds because, that's how short it is. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, let's go. And then in that same way, if we have the option of choosing, if we're working with a company and, say we're working with a partner like you, it's like, depending on their goals, having a combination of, it used to just be great photo campaigns would be all you would need.
Right.
You could just do billboard. And now it's like, how do you connect visual experiences, photo and video? How do you connect out of home, which is the stuff that happens in real life, to the stuff that's happening when you scroll? And like you said, building that kind of cohesive story so that your company can attract that new consumer base because we get bored. Even if you have the most useful product or you've hit the biggest trend, things will switch at some point. Either competitors are going to come up that are going to do the things that you're not, or consumers will get bored and then move on to something else.
Yeah.
And that's why we're having the workshop we're having, right? The luncheon?
Yes.
To really help educate, I don't want to say educate the correct word, just share the knowledge that we have in the space, like at what time in the pipeline is appropriate to really start introducing advertising and the power of
When is
advertising.
this event going to be?
The 17th of October?
Yeah.
I was
Here
nervous.
in Houston, Texas. Awesome. So if anyone is out there and can make it, what kind of stuff can we expect at this event?
This is going to be the master ceremony. I didn't know she knows this.
No, it's going to be a co-thing. But we're gonna talk through, some, I would say, guidelines. So it's not education, but it's like a path to steps to kind of check off as you are thinking about starting larger advertising, or if you just feel like your advertising is not working, to get back to basics. So some things like making sure if you're going to use social media, that your website. So some things that we take into consideration when doing media planning.
The supporting elements.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To make sure, like, I think the goal is for us to give them like a checklist of steps, and for them to be fully ready and prepared to that step.
And several of these things are free resources that just take, your time and your team and some planning, right? Yeah. Of just the forethought of let's get ready to make sure that we can maximize the impact when we do jump into advertising, right?
Yeah.
I know that we've had some clients recently that have really wanted to do a big, storytelling campaign. They wanted to launch a new website, et cetera, and their Google reviews were really bad. And it was only bad because they didn't have any. They had a couple, and then you get one bad review if you only have 10, right? Makes a big difference. And so we said, yeah, we can invest this time and this money and create this beautiful thing, but people are not even going to get there if they get stopped by the low reviews.
Yeah.
And so it's figuring out, I guess we're all going to be talking about those pieces, those supporting elements.
Are you going to be in that too?
I don't know. See, I'm not. I think I want you two to take the star roles.
It's like the pre-work before. I think sometimes we see, and I don't know if you guys see this, but when you realize you need advertising, you're like, I want to get on now. And then it's like, do you know who your target audience is? How's your website? How's this? And if those aren't already things that you're thinking about, it pushes your start date back further and further. So yeah.
Well, and something I like about Avail that's very similar to the Idea Farm is we have been around for quite a while, and we like to have those long-term relationships. And you know what that means? That means sometimes saying we're not ready. You're not ready to work with us yet, or we'd rather turn someone away and say, okay, and I know you've done this quite a bit over the past couple of months, where...
You listed it to us in the beginning? I don't even remember that.
Where it's like, okay, you're not at the right stage for us, or hey, and we like to, rather than just say, go figure it out on your own, we point people in the direction of the right resources and just say, we will be here when you're ready, right? And then what ends up happening, they come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're a testament, right? Liz, when we first came to Houston, true story, right? We first came to Houston.
She was the only person that was nice to us. I'm kidding. The first person that was nice to us. I love Houston.
Houston's friendly.
Houston's very friendly.
Yeah, we came to this market from Chicago, Valpo area, and we wanted to start launching some products out there, but we weren't fully prepared. We didn't have an ICP. We didn't really understand the market. There were so many questions that we just had like a vague kind of idea.
We were leading with enthusiasm, but not necessarily planning.
Yeah, and then Liz sat us down very nicely at a lunch. It's like, do you have X, Y, and Z? I'm like, nope. So like, listen, we have to have a conversation. And honestly, the best part about that is we created a relationship. Like, I think it's been we about to hit a year, right?
We hit a year, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We had a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the intent of that relationship is more powerful than the ads.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I also just want to say, because I stand on business with this, there are so many business marketing people in the marketing and advertising world that are not as reputable as Liz, as Avail, as these kind of businesses that really care about the long-term relationships. And I think what can be hard for business owners is trusting, and how do they choose the right partner? Maybe they've been burned in the past, or they know lots of people that have been burned in the past. So have you ever had conversations like that with clients?
Yeah, and I see it mostly too, talking about specific medium, like that radio doesn't work or TV doesn't work. And it's like, can you tell me a little bit more about your experience with it? And then you find out someone just like talked me into spending $1,000 on a TV campaign. They ran like 10 commercials for 2 weeks and nothing happened. And it's unfortunate because now they have it that
bad taste in the mouth.
Paid media doesn't work, or, and it was because they were misled because someone was just trying to,
take their money,
take the sale. I think that's the difference. Is like, is it a sale or is it someone that's partnering with you in a consultative, relationship? And I think that's something you can look for. And I think those are some things we could probably talk about too in October. Is what are some steps and how can we educate you with a few things that you can ask future partners to see if they're the right ones for you and things that you can look out for.
I like that a lot.
Because we interview our clients in a way that I'm sure the same way you don't take on every single client.
Yeah.
But I think that conversation is not held enough where on the opposite side, how do you choose the right partner? Because even if they're the right size, they have the money, they have a plan, that doesn't mean that their values align. That doesn't mean that maybe they want to move at a time, at a speed that doesn't fit with your team's work. There's just a lot of things that...
We just have to protect our entities. We have to protect our reputation. We want to partner with companies that want to scale. I know the same thing for you, right? Start with probably like $100,000 and go all the way up to a couple million over the years, and you want to grow with that company.
Yeah, I think that's seeing the long term. I think you can also kind of maybe look at what their current client, the logos look like. Have they been churning people? Is it someone that they've worked with for 15, 20 years? I think if you see a few people that have been with the agency for, decades, you know that there's something more to that partner, that they're not just trying to get someone in the door.
No, I agree with you. We were putting together some case studies recently, and it's really cool to see having, we'll do those quick, a lot of, everyone, they want quick responses. They want quick data, right? So we'll have a 90-day, we'll have a 180-day, we'll have a 1 year. And we just progress and show, hey, by the way, when you have longer term relationships with your marketing strategy team, it just can provide dividends, stability, growth. And the coolest thing is, like you said, it's not just a sale. It's, if this doesn't work, we're going to pivot the strategy. We're going to work with you to find something. Because even if something works so well, it's only going to work so well for a limited period of time. And that's just the truth. So
if you're in the Houston area, River Oaks area, and you have a service type business and want to actually learn more, Liz, where can they go?
Well, are we going to share it online to apply for? Okay, so RSVP is online. And then, reach out to us and we'll get you information about where the event's being held.
The landing page would be linked down below where you can fill out the information and reserve your seats. Now, let's do this like how ones. Liz, you got this camera, this camera, this camera. Tell the world what you got going on.
What do we got going on right now? Let's see.
On the spot.
Yeah, on the spot. Well, I'm leaving for Key West in 2 days, so that's a personal one. So that's an exciting one. But business-wise, I've been talking to some really fun, and I want to call out a Houston company that's getting started.
Please do.
I met with a company last week called So Pop and Tea, and this is an example of starting a relationship off early. They are getting to a place where they are getting funding, and they are a carbonated iced sweet tea. And they will eventually launch, and so hopefully down the line they'll actually need paid media to get the brand out, but they're Houston-based. And so that's really fun. And a few of our clients we've worked with, we've got to start with them from the beginning, and so we're doing really small things and growing. So this is before they even need media. So that was a fun one last week. That was a really cool one. So that's So Pop and Tea, and they're from Houston. So
okay, we got to check them out.
Them,
Also, that just sounds right up my alley.
Yeah.
So very cool. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for coming on today. And if you all want more of this engaging content, follow the channel, subscribe. We got great interviews coming out for season 2. And like we said, check the landing page. And if that event appeals to you, we would love to have you all attend to learn more.
Yep. See you guys soon.
See ya.
Hopefully in October.